We're shaking, people. Back with another reaction, back with some more Spandau Ballet. And we're moving on to the next album, which is True, 1983. Now, I do know this title track. It's actually probably the song of theirs I knew the best going into this deep dive, even if there may be one or two others along the way that are semi-familiar. I mentioned before, my sister, she listened to a lot of 80s synth pop and early 80s music. So when I was a single-digit kid growing up, I was hearing Depeche Mode and Erasure, and Thompson Twins, and also, indeed, Spandau Ballet. And I remember my sister specifically had like a Spandau Ballet poster. Nevertheless, it's a group I heard from youth, so there's a chance that given that I know this title track, there may be one or two others on this album I've heard before. But I didn't recognize any of the other titles as I looked at them, so as far as I know, the only one I'm definitely familiar with is the final track. And the opening tune is called Pleasure. It's a straightforward concept. Now, whether it could be a discussion of degree, whether it's a modest Epicurean pleasure or perhaps a full-born hedonistic pursuit of that quality. Those types of differences can make vast differences in behavior and outcomes. Ultimately, pleasure might not be, carnal or physical or, related to food or anything like that. It could be emotional satisfaction. It could be some degree of, vicarious satisfaction if, whether you have a family member or a significant other and you're hoping they do well and that makes you feel good. So, pleasure can manifest at a lot of different junctures in human interactions and minds. So, I'm not quite sure where this will head, so let's find out. This is Spandau Ballet. The tune is Pleasure, and it's the first track on their 1983 album, True. Like that bass.
Pleasures in my car, even in the bars I'm searching. Oh, women not that strong, breathing in the song I'm learning. Pleasures in the sand, warm within the hand she's holding. It is on the screen, adventures at 19, I'm searching. In my heart, pleasure in my heart, never let us part for pleasure. Oh, pleasure, work, stay.
Like the tribal style drums.
Pleasure is your name, I accept the blame for falling. It is down the phone, living in your home, I'm calling. Pleasure is a word, when a love is left unheard, it's burning. It is on the screen, adventures at 19, I'm searching. In my heart, pleasure in my heart, never let us part for pleasure.
You got a sax in there?
Pleasure, work, stay, never let them pay for pleasure. Leave or lose from my heart. Why did you feel like breaking my heart? What made you feel like breaking my heart tonight?
Suddenly,
Now I am crying.
this feels like one that maybe is buried in my childhood somewhere.
Now I am crying. Now I am
I love this. This is great.
Pleasure in my heart, never
tune. I enjoyed that a lot, especially as it went along and the sax came in and then went into that more stripped down section, which that part in particular, that did make me feel like, man, this is something that, I have heard like, decades and decades ago. So yeah, like I said, knowing that I'm familiar with True, it's possible that my sister used to listen to the whole album and I may recognize some of these tunes. Although again, I didn't really feel that until the latter third of the tunes. So either way, I enjoyed that a lot. His vocals. It's funny how quickly he can go from just sort of waving in a lower tone to really like letting it fly up top. And yeah, like I said, the saxophone, the tribal sort of, I don't know if they were bongos, but they had that like hand drum sort of sound to them, and a couple cool keyboard moments that came. So yeah, like I said, I enjoyed that. It was interesting. It sounded like he was saying like something about pain and pleasure, and those are typically offset, conceptually in the idea of something that is physically or sensationally enjoyable in one way versus pain, which by definition is negative or deleterious sensation. But then I thought he was saying like you're never going to let someone pay for pleasure, which obviously would be like a very different line. So I'm not actually sure like which of those two, or maybe an entirely different line. But like as I said, at first I thought it was juxtaposing pain and pleasure, and then later I thought he was saying paying for pleasure, which depending on what type of pleasure you're talking about, that could be seen as more, inevitable or perhaps seedy. So, not sure what's going on, but it did have that like really cool kind of nighttime nightclub feel, especially when the sax came in. So I enjoyed the groove of the tune. So let me know what you think of this one or the album more generally. Looking forward to the rest of it. Again, sort of with my eye on that final tune and the title track. So let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.